Once reality TV darlings known for their matching outfits, modest fashion, and strict courtship rules, the Duggar daughters have grown up and outgrown the spotlight in many ways. With their show 19 Kids and Counting and its spin-off Counting On no longer airing, Jana, Jinger, Jill, Jessa, Joanna, and others are now offering glimpses into who they are beyond the constraints of reality TV and the strict teachings of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, the religious organization closely associated with their upbringing. In recent years, each daughter has stepped out in her own way through candid interviews, social media revelations, or bold life decisions. From quietly shifting away from old belief systems to speaking out publicly about the pressure and trauma of growing up Duggar, these women are crafting identities apart from their famous last name. Here are 6 powerful stories of how the Duggar daughters are embracing change, challenging expectations, and living authentically beyond the limelight. Jana Duggar has long been at the center of fan speculation. As the eldest Duggar daughter, and the only one of her adult sisters who remained unmarried well into her 30s, Jana faced mounting pressure both from within her family and from the public. Viewers watched her serve as a second mother to her many younger siblings, often sacrificing her own time and interests. Jana's prolonged singleness became a running topic. Fans debated whether she was being too picky, overly obedient to family rules, or simply not interested in dating. Rumors swirled about courtships that never happened. Through it all, Jana remained poised, rarely speaking out about her personal life. But in 2024, fans were surprised and delighted when news broke that Jana had married Stephen Wisman, a Nebraska-based pilot and member of a similarly conservative Christian family. While their courtship was kept quiet compared to her siblings' highly publicized engagements, the wedding confirmed that Jana was finally living a story of her own. A different kind of love story. Unlike many of her siblings who married young and quickly, Jana waited for years to find the right match. In doing so, she flipped the script, proving that there's no right timeline for love, especially when it comes to deeply personal decisions. Her story resonates with many women who have felt the pressure to settle down by a certain age, particularly within evangelical and conservative circles. Though she remains relatively private, her quiet perseverance speaks volumes. Today, Jana splits her time between Arkansas and Nebraska, reportedly enjoying gardening, decorating, and traveling with her new husband. She's also stepped back from the hands-on parenting role she held for so many years, and embraced her own adulthood outside of her famous family's expectations. 2. Jinger Duggar Vuolo, a bold break from the past. No Duggar daughter has been as vocal, or as bold, in redefining herself as Jinger Duggar Vuolo. Now living in Los Angeles with her husband Jeremy Vuolo and their 2 daughters, Jinger has emerged as a thoughtful critic of the ultra-conservative teachings she was raised under. Her 2023 memoir, Becoming Free Indeed, offered an intimate look at the religious trauma she experienced growing up under IBLP's teachings. She described a childhood riddled with anxiety, fear, and a deeply ingrained sense that pleasing God meant following countless man-made rules. From modest skirts to ripped jeans. Perhaps one of the most symbolic shifts has been Jinger's wardrobe. Once known for her long skirts and modest blouses, Jinger now wears jeans, shorts, and modern styles that would have once been unthinkable in her family. In her book and in interviews, she explained that her change in dress is about more than fashion. It's about freedom. It represents her break from fear-based thinking and a journey toward understanding grace, personal conviction, and a relationship with God not rooted in control. Navigating backlash. Jinger has faced pushback, including from conservative fans and reportedly from within her family. However, she has largely remained diplomatic, choosing to speak her truth while avoiding direct conflict with her parents, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. Her message is clear. It's okay to question, to evolve, and to find a faith that aligns with your values, even if it looks drastically different from the one you were raised with. Joanna was always seen as the tomboy of the family, the one who loved hunting, hiking, and hanging with her brothers. As she transitioned into marriage and motherhood, fans were curious to see how she'd navigate adulthood. Married to Austin Forsyth, Joanna has become a mom of 3 and regularly shares life updates on YouTube. But unlike some of her siblings, she and Austin have drawn distinct boundaries when it comes to what they share, especially regarding their children. Austin's push for privacy. In one of their videos, Austin candidly explained why he didn't want their birth stories or more intimate family moments to be filmed for public consumption. He felt the pressure to perform for the cameras and recognized that some moments are simply too sacred to share. This boundary marked a quiet but significant departure from the Duggar norm, where weddings, births, and even courtships were filmed and monetized. The Forsyths' decision to hold back revealed a growing awareness of the emotional toll that constant exposure can take on a family. Finding their own path. Joanna still shares plenty with fans, from home renovation projects to faith-based family updates, but the tone is different. There's a greater sense of intentionality, of a couple figuring out how to remain connected to their roots without losing themselves. Her openness about postpartum struggles, miscarriage, and the challenges of parenting has made her one of the more relatable Duggar daughters, grounded, real, and refreshingly honest. 4. Jill Duggar-Dillard, from family outcast to empowered voice. If there's a Duggar daughter who has become synonymous with standing up for herself, it's Jill Duggar-Dillard. Her departure from the family's inner circle was slow but deliberate, and it's one that has come at great personal cost. After marrying Derek Dillard in 2014, Jill initially continued participating in the family's shows. But tensions quickly emerged, particularly around issues of control, autonomy, and finances. In time, she and Derek began to distance themselves from Jim, Bob, and Michelle, eventually revealing that they had not been properly compensated for their work on 19 Kids and counting on. Cutting ties, speaking truth. In interviews and in their 2023 memoir Counting the Cost, Jill and Derek laid bare the emotional and financial manipulation they say they endured. Jill described feeling trapped and constantly guilt into submission. Perhaps most heartbreakingly, Jill revealed that her relationship with her father became so strained that at one point, she had to block him from her phone for her own mental health. Healing, therapy, and new beginnings. Jill's journey has been one of therapy, self-reflection, and healing. She and Derek now live in Oklahoma with their 3 children and continue to advocate for healthy boundaries, mental health awareness, and family autonomy. She's also one of the few Duggar daughters to openly speak about using birth control, discussing the decision in the context of personal choice and responsible parenting, a major departure from her upbringing. For many fans, Jill represents the power of reclaiming your story, even when it means walking away from everything you've known. 5. Jessa Duggar-Seewald, Grace in Grief and Growth. Jessa Duggar-Seewald has long been seen as the steady one, calm, composed, and deeply grounded in her faith. Her relationship with husband Ben Seewald, as well as her well-documented parenting journey, has made her a fan favorite. But in recent years, Jessa has opened up in new ways, particularly about grief and loss. In early 2023, she shared the devastating news of a miscarriage, describing the heartbreak and confusion she felt. Breaking the silence around loss. Jessa's decision to speak out about her miscarriage marked an important moment. For many in the conservative Christian community, such topics are still considered taboo. By sharing her story, Jessa gave voice to countless women who've suffered in silence. She also discussed how her faith sustained her, not through denial, but through honesty and lament. Her transparency made her more relatable than ever and earned praise even from outside the Duggar fanbase. Holding tension. Jessa remains close to her family, but she's also shown signs of subtle evolution. She's been seen wearing pants, discussing parenting challenges with candor, and showing grace to her siblings who've made different choices. Her story isn't about rebellion. It's about resilience, grace, and finding strength through life storms. While the older Duggar daughters have made their adult lives more public, often through social media, memoirs, or interviews, the younger girls are still coming of age. Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan Grace, and Josie have largely remained out of the spotlight since Counting On ended. However, as they approach adulthood, questions linger about what paths they will choose. Will they follow in the footsteps of their older sisters who've distanced themselves from the IBLP and family spotlight? Or will they remain in the fold, influenced by sisters? One thing is certain, they've witnessed the struggles and transformations of their older sisters. From Jinger's deconstruction of IBLP teachings to Jill's boundary setting and Jana's late-blooming love story, these younger Duggar girls are growing up with examples of both tradition and transformation. As they come into their own, their choices will likely be shaped not just by their parents, but by the complex legacy of the Duggar name. Conclusion: redefining what it means to be a Duggar woman. The stories of the Duggar daughters are stories of growth, challenge, and self-discovery. Once tightly bound by the rules and expectations of their family's belief system, many have stepped into new identities, some quietly, others boldly. Their journeys aren't uniform. Some remain close to their parents, others have forged distance. Some speak out, others lead by quiet example. But in every case, these women are reshaping the narrative about who they are and what it means to be a Duggar. As they continue to share their lives on their own terms, they offer something far more powerful than reality TV ever could: a portrait of strength, courage, and the freedom to choose your own path. For years, Jana was known as the ever-patient eldest Duggar daughter. As her younger sisters got married and started families, she remained single, quietly managing the household and raising her siblings. Some viewers speculated whether she was overly picky or simply held back by her family's strict courtship rules. A new chapter. When Jana finally married Stephen Wisman in 2024, it felt like a long-awaited fairy tale. But more than the wedding itself, what stood out was how Jana took her time. Unlike the usual Duggar rush to the altar, she made her choice carefully, and that has become her signature strength. Today, Jana is enjoying married life on her own terms. She spends time gardening, traveling, and participating in charity work away from the spotlight and, perhaps for the first time, on her own terms. Jinger Duggar Vuolo, choosing freedom over fear. A new voice in the media. Jinger's memoir, Becoming Free Indeed, wasn't just a bestseller. It was a bold act of liberation. In it, she reveals how growing up under fear-based teachings shaped her mindset and caused her anxiety and confusion. Writing the book was her way of reclaiming that narrative. Clothing, confidence, and conviction. Her wardrobe shift, from modest skirts to jeans and modern outfits, isn't just aesthetic. It symbolizes spiritual growth. God sees the heart, not the hemline, she says, challenging the long-held belief in her family that clothing defined purity. Family friction. Her views haven't sat well with everyone. Some family members reportedly distanced themselves, and Jinga has skipped several family gatherings. But she remains calm. I still love them, she says. I'm just walking a different path. Jana Duggar Forsyth. Boundaries behind the camera. Raising kids, not ratings. Jana has embraced motherhood with grace and thoughtfulness. While she does maintain a family YouTube channel, she set firm boundaries with husband Austin Forsyth about what to share publicly. Austin has openly admitted he's uncomfortable with filming deeply personal family moments, like childbirth or disciplinary moments with their kids. Some things are meant to stay sacred, he says. Balance, transparency. Jana's approach is unique among her siblings, being open, but never at the cost of privacy. In a content-driven culture, her perspective is refreshing and deeply intentional. Jill Duggar Dillard. Therapy, faith, and recovery. Confronting trauma. Jill has perhaps taken the boldest steps away from her family. She and her husband Derek Dillard publicly exposed financial and emotional abuse they endured while participating in the family's reality shows. Jill has spoken about suffering from PTSD and anxiety, especially due to childhood pressures and the burden of public scrutiny. Therapy, she says, saved her life. Healthy boundaries. Today, Jill lives with a renewed sense of self. In her memoir, Counting the Cost, she describes how she had to block her father's number at one point to maintain peace. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting people off, she writes. It means choosing peace. Her journey is empowering many others from conservative homes who are silently struggling. Jessa Duggar Seawald. Grace and grief. Speaking through pain. Jessa was known as calm and composed, but in 2023, she shared her heartbreaking miscarriage experience with the world. "It broke me," she said in a video, wiping tears from her face. But her faith, she adds, carried her through. Jessa's vulnerability opened the door for many women to talk about miscarriage in Christian communities, where the topic is often ignored or shamed. The youngest Duggar girls, Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan Grace, and Josie, are growing up in a very different world. TikTok, YouTube, and social media have exposed them to ideas far outside their family's teachings. Though still largely under their parents' influence, it's hard to imagine they won't eventually form their own views, especially watching their older sisters speak out, inspired by the brave ones before them. With Jill, Jinger, and Joanna blazing new trails, the younger girls may have an easier time navigating adulthood. Perhaps they'll have the freedom to choose for themselves and the language to express it. Message to the reader: the courage to evolve. These stories are not just about the Duggar daughters. They're about anyone trying to break free from limiting beliefs, whether rooted in religion, family, or culture. It takes courage to question what you were taught, to set healthy boundaries, and to live authentically. If you're feeling lost or burdened by others' expectations, these women's journeys are proof. Healing, freedom, and identity are all possible, even if you start late.